Today, I am so excited to welcome you, and we have a wonderful guest, Dr. Sharon McLaughlin. Dr. McLaughlin is a plastic surgeon, and she has multiple streams of income, has started her own businesses. And what I'm hoping that today does for you is listening to what she's done. Uh, I hope that it stimulates some thought and helps you to see some options. Dr. McLaughlin, Sharon, thank you for being here. Can you tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Sure, Dr. Hockman, thank you for being here and doing what you're doing. Board certified in plastic surgery, was in practice for about 11 years, and then was really questioning, what am I doing? I ended up leaving medicine, but the reason why I wanted to come on today is because I actually regret that to some degree, and these are the things that I'd like to speak about. I really think nowadays you could stay in medicine even if you're burnt out. You're just going to have to change things around. So when I heard about what you're doing, I'm so excited that you're helping physicians find the right practice, find the right fit, because really, in retrospect, that's what I wish I had had before I decided to just pick up and close my practice.
What was it that made you close up shop?
There were so many things. I think in general, back then, I had a husband, I had a child, I still do. Being in private practice by myself, having the staff to manage by myself, trying to do this like as much part-time as a surgeon can. And I think it's really hard to do that unless you're in private practice with other people. And I would have really looked for that if I had done it again. I had looked in the beginning, but I don't think I was serious. I think I said to myself, I want to do this by myself, because I did for other people, but it was always an excuse. I remember one person saying to me, the checks that you get, do you put everyone in the bank? And I'm like, and I love this person. She's a doctor, but I'm like, there's no way I could ever go into practice with her. It was like a red flag. But I think people see what they want to see and people hear what they want to hear. And even though it could be so obvious right in front of you, you may disregard it because it's something that you want. So just be careful of what's actually going on. Play this out, write it down. I find brain dumping is very helpful with this. But back to what I was looking for. I wanted to do this by myself, essentially, is really what I came down to. And I did. And things started off really good. I was able to pay back my school loans right away in my first year. I made tons of money, but it wasn't a lifestyle that I think was sustainable for me. Tons of emergency room call. Yes, I was building up my practice, but I was building it up with emergencies. And so when I got married, when I had my child, that was not a sustainable business model. So one of the things I would say to you is, what type of business model is going to work for you? Not the weekends, not the evening. Does that matter to you? I can tell you most practices, if you think about it, what do you want? It's nice to have evening hours. It's nice to have weekend hours, but not everybody has to do that. So think about your hours. What does your ideal lifestyle look like? The times that you want to work. Are you going to be doing this part-time? Are you going to rise up early in the morning to see patients? There's doctors that I know that will see patients at 6 a.m. I never thought about doing that, but that may work in your business model. And those people that want that 6 a.m. before they get up and going for work, they'll find you. It's just a matter of putting yourself out there. And the same thing, I know physicians that see people at 11 o'clock at night. I'm not a night person. That never would work for me, but that can work for you in your practice. I think finding the right people, the right fit, and that's what you're doing. You really are. It's like a matchmaker, because so much of this when you're in practice, it's like a marriage. It really is. It's a relationship. There's things that again, I think we see what we want to see and we don't see what we don't want to see. So there's many things right from the beginning that are there, and you just have to be aware of it. Bringing awareness into this is really what it comes down to. So I had my practice. I was married. I had a child, but that business model, that tons of ER call, just wasn't working for me. But that's the practice I had spent my time building because it was easy for me. I knew how to do it. I was always, I don't know if workaholic, but I didn't mind stepping up to the plate and working. But the more I thought about it, I was like, maybe cosmetics would be better for me. It's more practical. And it was like the hours were better. I wasn't fully enjoyed. I didn't feel like it was enough of a challenge for me. The bottom line is I wasn't fulfilled. So then what else was there? And then it all started coming down together. My dad had gotten sick and I really wondered so I've been doing this for over 10 years. Do I want to do this for another 10 years? And I think when you have somebody that's so close to you dying, it really puts things in perspective. I've heard this story over and over again. There's usually some turning point that happens. Like, yes, it's happening slowly, but there's always some straw that breaks the camel back, they say, that happens that you are like, it really makes you stop and say to yourself, is this truly what I want? And I found that I was doing a lot of reassessment, a lot of deep thinking. And I knew that, given my options at the time, I didn't know of any other options. I was very short sighted. I thought the best thing would just be to leave medicine because I just wanted it done. I wanted those feelings of feeling overwhelmed, of feeling I'm not good enough, of feeling I'm being pulled in so many different directions. I just wanted it to be all over with. And I really feel like I sustained burnout. People will say to me, well, was it burnout or was it depression? I see this in Facebook groups. I've had people ask. To me, burnout is not goes away Friday night or Saturday or a day off. It's there all the time. I can't tell you how relieved I was. Like when the weekends came, things slowed down. And even though I was getting calls and it wasn't as busy. So that was really good. I used to see people on Saturdays too, but like Sunday was my day off. And it was just, I just knew that I wanted that feeling on Sundays to be all the time. I still wanted to work. I still wanted to contribute, but it wasn't in what I was doing. So I hope that that makes sense as far as, where I was at the time. You may be feeling that. I would say reach out. There's so many people out there willing to help. This is why Lara has started what she's doing to help other docs, network and collaborate and make sure you're the right fit. Like I mentioned, had that been around when I was feeling burned out and really kind of desperate, like I was never suicidal. People have said that to me too. They're like, oh, I got burned out so bad I was suicidal. It wasn't like that. I just knew that in my heart, I just knew that I didn't want to do this anymore, not the way I was doing it.
Yeah, I identify with that so much. I also have a story about leaving medicine because of burnout, and I was so fortunate to find my way back in and see that if you're in the right practice situation, it can be incredible. And now with, with social media and with Facebook groups like the Female Physician Entrepreneur group that you started, there's so many people that you can reach out to, and whether anonymously or not, there's so many people who are going through something similar and who can help you and who can identify with what you're doing and tell you their story of resilience. And so many of us, and me from 10 years ago was one of those people, we just feel so hopeless and so trapped, and the only solution we can think about is leaving medicine. And that's not always the solution. So you have some businesses. Can you tell me a little bit about your businesses and how you got started doing them?
Well, the Female Physician Entrepreneur Group was started because I felt like if we gave doctors options, that would be a good thing. I myself was always interested in entrepreneurship. I was always interested in business. It's not something we learn in medical school. So I thought about putting together a group of women. We could kind of, talk shop and, talk about growing our businesses. And that's really what the group has evolved. And it's really a question and answer type of group that you come in if you're concerned about business, something that's going on, an obstacle, that's there. Since then, we have a summit coming up where we're talking about physicians, businesses, side gigs, everything that you can kind of do with medicine, your medical degree, but how do you use it in a way to generate extra income or additional income or different types of income? And in addition to that, we've done some workshops. We have some workshops coming up. It's just a great place to come and network and really, book clubs, just really get to know people. And we've done even some masterminds as well. It's a great way to really niche down, kind of shoot ideas and think about like, what can I do that's going to help me feel differently tomorrow than I feel today? So that's the whole idea about that group. I started MindLo because for me, my mind is very, very busy. And I really wanted to hone in on that. And why is that? Why is it that some women physicians feel like they always have to go, go, go? And you could say, well, it's ADHD, but it's more than that. I think it's that like we have to be people pleasers. We don't know how to say no. We don't know how to set boundaries. And really just having that quiet time, like what I call like the lull in our mind, because sometimes people feel stuck. So why do we feel stuck? Usually because we're not as creative. We can't come up with ideas ourselves. And that's why it's good to network. But if you start giving yourself some downtime, it really does make a difference with your creativity. I have a whole morning routine that I talk about in Mindlow. And it makes such a difference when I do that versus the days that I don't do that. So it's the whole idea about that company is really just um, really bringing awareness into how important it is to take downtime for yourself, make yourself a priority, taking those quiet times so that you can be more creative and really achieve the goals that you want to achieve. So those are my two companies.
Very neat. So in Mindlull, I'm curious to know how long did it take you to come up with that idea and really implement it?
Yeah. That's been evolving. I'll tell you, I started this a few years back under a different name, and I thought wellness and weight loss would be a better avenue for me. I was kind of given the two. I believe that we need to focus in on one thing initially. I really do. I think that once you niche down and you really know that well, then you can branch out. But I didn't want to have many different ideas. And I've always toyed with female physician entrepreneurs because truthfully, I started the group, it was never my target market. There's other groups or people, physicians that come into the group, like that's their target market. So it makes sense to hang out there and kind of grow the group. But that was never my intention for that group. I just wanted a free place where women can come and learn about business and not be charged. Yes, we can do some programs that, some masterminds, whatever, that do have a charge, but the basic group was going to be free and it was going to be a wealth of information. So mine was actually under a different name. And I tried the wellness and weight loss, and I still believe in wellness very much. The problem is competing with the health coaches. And I was just like, I think my problem, again, in retrospect, is that I didn't niche down enough. If I were to say, okay, a weight loss for physicians, a weight loss for women physicians, weight loss for women physicians who are having a hard time, with self-care, like we really have to niche down there. And I didn't do that. And that was my, a mistake there. So I think with this time around, it really brings back the mindset, which I think is so important with anything that we do, but really gearing it to entrepreneurs. So that's the idea with the Mind Law is, as niche down as possible, mindset, physicians, physician entrepreneurs.
Yeah, that's huge. I know as far as I go for entrepreneurship, I'm not an entrepreneur at heart. I saw a problem and I wanted to be a part of the solution. And so in medicine, we're trained to go in, see the patient, write the note, come out, rinse and repeat, and then write our notes, um, respond to labs, respond to patient requests, all that stuff. It's very set. And so entrepreneurship is just messy. It's just all over the place. And so, something like that, where you can see that entrepreneurship doesn't have a set path, but it's absolutely doable. My husband's an entrepreneur, and I would always say to him, he's a total entrepreneur at heart. And I would say to him things like, but how do you know what the next thing to do is? But how do you know but when do you? And so, it's just, I sound confused right now because even thinking about it, it's just so confusing. There isn't that algorithmic day and schedule. And so having something like Mind Lull would be nice. And having something to help you focus would be nice. Do you have something like that? Do you have a journal perhaps?
I do. I have a journal and workbook coming out in May. The reason for that is exactly what we're talking about. I do believe that, again, women physicians, we go, go, go. And we're not thinking about our next step. I made this book, I created it because of my own faults that I've had, my own failures. I would go and go and go and do, and all this content creation and do this and do that, never really having a set goal in mind, like one goal, like what is the focus here? What am I trying to achieve? And so when you actually start journaling and really answering questions and really focus in, looking at this daily, looking at this weekly, looking at this at the end of the month, really measuring your goals. And, Lara, you were talking about asking your husband, well, how do you know what to do next? The answer is you really don't, but you do. You do by testing. You don't know if it's going to work, but you try it. And rather than trying the same thing over and over and over again and realizing it's not working, like it's better to know that early. And that's why this reassessment is so important. You did these 3 posts. Did they help or not help? You sent out these emails. Did it help? Which ones got the most replies? Which ones? It's really traffic, concentrating on traffic, but it's even more than traffic. It's actually the conversions. So you don't want to just put things out randomly. You have to have, there has to be measurements. And there's all software for that, whatnot, CRM, there's all different types. It doesn't really matter what you're using, but you have to track. That's like a huge thing here. Track traffic, track conversions.
So, what kind of wins would people see when we use your journal?
Knowing what's working and what's not working. I can't tell you everyone's roadmap is going to be different. And I can tell you, like, I've heard this from people that have made billions in the industry. Just because I did it doesn't mean that if you took the same road, you're going to do it. You can't, because there's different creation, there's different relationships that are formed during the way. People are at different stages of their life when the relationships are formed. So it really is, I hate to say part luck, but it's not, it's more than that. It's that you being very consistent on what you're doing. You have to be consistent and you have to have a set goal in mind and you have to be able to measure that goal. So that's how the idea of the journal is. Like, that's why it will work, because it really makes you think, it makes you be aware, it makes you step back and say, okay, what's going on here?
Yeah, that's huge. I can see it. It would be nice to be able to organize your thoughts and not just try to keep all of this in your head. So to have that written down to really be able to go back and see would be huge. That's great.
I'm
So,
excited about it. I really am. I
oh,
think
good.
I wish I had that. I wish I had done that. There's so many things you can do. The journal's going to be cheap enough that it's affordable for everyone, not just physicians. I want, because I know what that's like to have your mind all over the place and how overwhelming it can be. And it's really a period of unrest. So that's the whole idea. So yes, we're going to quiet our mind. We're going to get very focused here and we're going to make some progress and really achieve our goals.
That would be wonderful. And I see that actually indirectly helping with sleep because if it's all floating around in there, then you go to sleep thinking about it. But if you've written it down, that can help pretty significantly.
Journaling helps. Yeah.
Yeah. Something I ask all my guests, can you tell me a little bit about someone or something that inspires you and gives you hope for the future of medicine?
Yeah. The person that is a doctor that's still practicing medicine and doing medicine the way that they want, in the terms that they want. And when you ask me that question, there's one person that comes to mind. His name is John Stamatos. I'm not even sure if he's on Facebook, truthfully. But to me, I remember when he first started in the Northwell system, he had niched down right away. He was anesthesia, pain management, and he just developed an incredible practice. He grew very fast because he was niched down. People loved him. They still love him. And, he's just got his practice, like, works hours that he wants to work without going too much into details. He works the hours that he wants to work. It's on his terms. And when, like a lot of us, and I think we are indispensable, but every once in a while you get somebody that truly is not indispensable and they know it. The system knows it. So although I don't agree with corporate medicine and the way things are going, he's able to work with corporate medicine, but under his terms, because he's really niched down, created a name for himself. And I think they're very thankful to have him. So he's not so indispensable. But that doctor comes to mind, making yourself indispensable. And if you feel like you're a cog on the wheel, then you need to go and make some changes and let Lara help you. Let others help you is the bottom line. Don't stay stuck, because as time goes on, you just feel worse and worse and you feel like your options are limited. And that should not be the case. Things are very different in medicine than they were a few years back. And in some ways, I actually think it's for the good, because there's so much awareness of what's going on in medicine and how bad things have changed for physicians. And there's a lot of physicians out there willing to help.
Thank you. That's huge. It's nice to hear about people who are doing really well with even within corporate medicine because it can be done. So, where can our
Absolutely.
listeners go to learn more about you, learn more about MindLull, and about this journal?
Okay. FPE Strong is the website for our group. So it's fpestrong.com. And then mindlull is mindlull.com. I will have the journal. We are set to do May 3rd. It's a workbook. It started off as a journal, but again, always testing. I think we need to do more workbook to really get going as far as entrepreneurs go, getting their thoughts down. And like you said, really having a roadmap.
Yeah, well, that's huge, and that will be in the show notes as well. So if you want to find Dr. Sharon McLaughlin, she is very findable. So thank you so much for joining us today. I'm excited to have you, and go check out Sharon McLaughlin.
Thank you.